The new year is an important symbolic moment for all of us.
But the fact is, New Year's Day really can be any day.
The American Religious Town Hall meeting is now in session.
Welcome, friends, to the American Religious Town Hall meeting, where the discussion of religious, political, and social issues is meant to promote the cause of religious freedom and to help us better understand each other. And now, here is your host and moderator.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, and Happy New Year. My name is Andrea Luxton, and I'm the president of Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan, and I am the moderator for today's program. We have some panelists with us today, and I'd like them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Tom Plumley. I'm the senior minister at First Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas. We're a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Dan Levin. I serve as senior rabbi at Temple Bethel in Boca Raton, Florida.
Hi, I'm Carl Trovall. I'm professor of ethics and history at Concordia University in Austin, Texas.
My name is Mel Robeck. Hello to you in this Happy New Year. I'm senior professor of church history and ecumenics and special assistant to the president for ecumenical relations at Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California. This year, we will get a new president January 1.
Welcome back, and our topic today is a New Year topic. One song that celebrates the New Year was originally written in a longer poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The song starts, "Ring out wild bells to the wild sky." And as the words of the song continue, the New Year bells ring out the old, the false, grief, feuds, strife, wants, care, and pride, amongst others. But the bells also ring in the new, the true, what is nobler, sweeter, purer, along with the love of truth and right. These words of hope are even more moving in the context of the original poem. In that poem, In Memoriam, Tennyson is finally beginning to find the light and the way forward after years of mourning and struggling with the death of a young friend. As he emerges from that darkness, he writes the words put into this song. And while it be an artificial moment in time, for many of us, the New Year does give us that important time to start new, to make resolutions. We metaphorically do ring out parts of what has happened and seek to ring in what is better. For some, New Year resolutions last a day, for some a month, but for some it can be a transforming moment. As we enter 2023, I would ask the panelists to reflect on the following questions. What would you like to ring out and ring in for this year, whether for yourself or for the nation or for the world? Secondly, do you have New Year traditions which focus on this as a time of renewal? And finally, are there particular times or ceremonies in your faith tradition where renewal is emphasized other than the New Year? I'd like to turn to Mel to ask him to start our conversation.
Well, thank you, Andrea. There's no question that particular dates give us the opportunity to rethink the way things are and so forth. You know, you can think about birthday dates, you can think about christening dates, you can think about baptismal dates, you can think about, lots of religious holidays, but you also can think about national holidays that we get, 4th of July and so forth. They all have meaning for us in one way or another. New Year is one of those days that I do think, like Dan, it could be any day in a sense. And we really find that because, in a sense, the West has celebrated New Year's on January 1. But the Jewish New Year is a different day. And so is the Chinese New Year and so forth. So there are other points at which this New Year appears. So we don't celebrate it always at the same time, although we probably celebrate some of them more than once, or more than one New Year, and for different reasons. But I do think it's a great time to remember, who have we lost this year? What have we found this year? What kinds of concerns did we have this last year that we'd like to move away from? Boy, would I like to see the end of war in any place around the world. I would like to see the end of poverty. Now I feel like a Miss America participant trying to impress people with what I would like for the world. But the reality is that we do have these hopes and dreams that bring out, I think, a higher sense of who we are and who we want to be, the desires of our hearts, the hopes of and the dreams that we have. It's also a time to grieve, because we have lost a lot of people. And certainly within the COVID season for the last couple of years, we've lost thousands and thousands of people. And I think it's really important for us not only to remember, but also to grieve. My wife lost 2 cousins during this period of time. It's time to think about grieving for them. But it's also a time of rejoicing. Wow, we got immunization. That was a great find. It took a lot of work, and it came with a lot of controversy, but the reality is we can rejoice that so many people's lives have been saved and are being saved as a result of that. We can also look at it as a time for change, that we can become better people. I have to say, I've never been good at making resolutions. I can't keep them more than an hour, if that. It's like I have no discipline when it comes to that. But I can think about longer-term goals, and I can discipline myself to meet those longer-term goals if I really want to do that. It's a question of desire, I suppose. But I do think that we have lots of things that we could strive for. And, my church doesn't celebrate New Year's any specific way. We used to have at least kind of these overnight services, New Year's Eve services that would go on until 6 in the morning. I could never stay awake during those times, it was just too much work. So I gave up on going to such things. But I do think it's really important for us, especially as ecclesial communities that we have, that we come together and think seriously about, should we make different changes for this new year? We're losing a president, a good president, but we'll be gaining a new president with a lot of hope for possible new directions in our seminary. So I'm thankful for the coming this new year as of today.
Thank you. Dan?
So in Jewish community, as you mentioned, Mel, we celebrate New Year's twice. We celebrate New Year's as part of the Jewish calendar, as part of our fall high holiday season, and then, of course, we celebrate the secular New Year at this time. In Israel, this holiday is actually called Sylvester, following the European tradition. In Jewish custom, though, when you celebrate the New Year, there's lots of different names for that year, for that holiday, I should say. One is Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. But it has 2 other names that we use in the fall. One is Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrances. And it's a day to remember where we've been and what our year has been. We're invited to compose what in Hebrew is called a cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of your soul. And to take some time and to take a hard look at sort of who you've been and what you've done with the gift of life. There is an idea that we have in our liturgy that proposes this idea that there is on high this enormous, magnificent volume called the Book of Life. And that each of us is every single day, with everything we do, authoring our page in that grand narrative. And how we choose to write the story of our lives, and how we deliberately use that holy pen to author the story of who we are, is something that we should be very careful of, not just once a year. It's something that we should attend to every day, and be thoughtful and grateful for the gift of life itself as we live our lives, not just on December 31st or January 1st or in Jewish tradition in the fall or in other traditions at different times of the year, but that's something that we can renew every single day. The idea that we are given this extraordinary gift called the world in which we live, this remarkable accident of history. And we think about what it is that allows us to be who we are, that here we have this planet that's just the right size, with just the right mineral and elemental content, that's just the right distance from just the right size star, so that the average temperature is somewhere between 0 and 100 degrees Celsius, so there can be liquid water in life itself. And I think part of what New Year's is about is standing back in awe at the profound gift of the fact that there is existence, that there is human life, and that we have the capacity to reflect on what that life means. And so if we've been given this gift of being able to reflect on what life is about, we should use it more than once a year.
Thank you. Tom.
Thank you. I want to say happy 2023 to everyone, which immediately makes me remember the days when I thought of how elderly I would be when the year 2000 came. So where does that put me now? New Year's, I think, mark for us, as we've said, times of remembrance and times of looking forward. But the thing that besides football that I think about on New Year's Day is the opportunity for change that is always there for us. You know, the whole purpose of resolutions is this notion that we need to change, and we can change. And I, like Dr. Robeck, do not set New Year's resolutions, but the concept is one about recognizing the need for a change in my life and who I am and how I can grow and where I need to go from where I am right now. And step one of doing that is committing to it. And you know, Dr. Robeck said he's not good at hanging with those resolutions, but he is committed to changing in his life, because I've seen that and known that in him in the years that he and I have been friends here on the panel of the American Religious Town Hall meeting. The scripture verse that comes to me on this day is the one that says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." That's a verse that we could repeat every morning, as Rabbi Levin says, but particularly on New Year's Day. I think it's good to repeat that one for ourselves, that we need to arise and shine, for the light of God has come into our lives.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everybody. And yes, it's hard to believe it's 2023 already, but I guess I know it's always better to celebrate another day than the alternative. So I'm glad to be here. I was thinking about the meaning of January. I mean, January comes from the word is taken from the Greek god Janus, who had two faces. And so it's this idea of being able to look back and reflect, be grateful, many of the things that you've all expressed. And even to look back and say, what is there that needs to change? Because then the second piece of Janus is to look forward, the second phase, and to say, what is there in the future and how can it be and what's possible? And so I find just the image of Janus to be a powerful image, and I'm glad January is named January for that reason. In the Christian church, I suppose if we had any New Year's Day, it probably would be the season of Advent, in which one's preparing for the birth of Christ, which marks kind of the Christian year is marked around the life of Christ. So really, Christ's birth kind of is the beginning, and preparation for the birth is the beginning. Or I guess another one might be Pentecost, where the church is born, right? That's another possibility. I was thinking about, and then I was thinking, well, Lent, which is the season of preparation before Easter, is a time of repentance. And it's a time of trying to change oneself, to make resolutions. And so I thought, well, it could be Lent as well. But I think this gets all around to something. I mean, I loved your counter, Dan, about the opportunity every day, right? Every day is a new year. I don't know, when I run into something that I want to change, I always think, I wish I had done that 40 years ago. I have something I started doing 40 years ago, but the next best time to start something instead of 40 years ago is today. And so I have to think about the future, not regretting the past. It's an opportunity to move forward. And that's, I guess, all there's so much I guess one could unpack, but it's just wonderful to be in another day, another year.
So do any of you have any traditions or know of anyone with very specific traditions that kind of focus their attention on the time of renewal?
I mean, like them, I'll tell you this, I don't do resolutions either, because I realize that just the social pressure of it, I really need time to have quiet and reflection instead of all the noise about committing. And I just come off of Christmas and I don't know that I'm bloated, I'm full, I'm fat. I'm not ready to commit yet, but I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting. In some cultures, they do a lot. I mean, I was in Mexico one time for New Year, and I think they burn. I think they burn some effigy or something around that time of year, as kind of getting rid of the past.
So we're just finishing the season of Hanukkah, and Hanukkah is about dedication. It was the celebration of the rededication of the temple, but there is this idea of toward what are you dedicating your life, and how are you using that gift of life. But I think for many people, the celebration of the New Year is also just a time for joy and to be with family and friends. We have very dear friends with whom we celebrate New Year's every year. And we play cards and we eat a lot of food and we ring in the new year, and their children are the same age as our children, and so we have all of these pictures from year after year after year of them getting older and bigger, and so there is that sense of looking backward and looking ahead.
I heard one person on a podcast who talked about how they pick a theme for the year. Like an idea, more of a conceptual thing that they try to shape their whole year around, whether it would be justice or whether it would be self-improvement. And I thought that was kind of an interesting tradition that they had.
Yeah, because when you look at that original poem I read to you, there was ringing out so many things and ringing in so many things. And if you think about, well, what do I want to change? It's like, how long can my list be? So how do you actually focus that to do something that's tangible and real and doable as you move into a new space, whether it's New Year or another space? I think that is always a challenge.
I remember for many years, I used to play soccer, and that was sort of my form of exercise, but then started getting older and getting hurt a lot, so decided that I needed to find something else, and I kept saying I should join a gym. But I had such analysis paralysis. Well, I could join that gym, but it's a little expensive, and I could join this gym, but I have so many friends who are there, I probably won't work out, I'll just end up talking to everybody. And so I never joined any gym. And I remember it was because of New Year's, I said, this year I'm gonna join the gym. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember the day after New Year's, January 2nd, I walked into the gym. It's around the corner from my house, and I said, how much money can I give you today? Because I knew that if I gave them a big investment, right, that I would do the training and I would start working out. And that ended up being one of the best things that ever happened, because I started having a much better regular exercise regimen that's made me feel better and stayed healthier.
Because I think one of the things, if you talk to some of the owners of gyms, they say you get this influx of people that all join on January the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd, and then by the end of the month they're all gone. So great idea to give them so much money that you're not going to give up so easily. Mel?
Yeah, I come from the land where it's sunshine every day and the flowers are always in bloom. And come January the 1st, 1 million to 1.5 million people will be on Colorado Boulevard in downtown Pasadena. There'll be horns, there'll be fireworks, there'll be streamers, there'll be noise, it keeps you up half the night. You have those kinds of things. And then, of course, on January 1st, you get the flyover of the big B-2 bomber right straight down Colorado Boulevard. Always gives me the creeps, but, one of those things. And then you have a 2.5-hour parade, and it marches down Colorado Boulevard to Sierra Madre Boulevard, and it goes for 8 miles. And I feel sorry for those poor kids, especially when it's on a cold day and they're marching bands and so forth. They're never overly dressed, or if they do, then they sometimes will faint. So it's kind of a strange town to be in on January the 1st. And then, of course, the afternoon is taken up with football. The Rose Bowl's right there. It's the big game of the year for a lot of people. And, so we have these kinds of things, but I don't know how many people are thinking seriously about resolutions at that time.
Thank you. And let's have a commercial break. Thank you.
We hope you're enjoying today's program. If you'd like to learn more about the American Religious Town Hall, please visit our website at americanreligious.org. That's americanreligious.org. There you can read about the vision and history of the program, and we invite you to become a ministry partner, explore our Town Hall Estates healthcare facilities, and view past programs by clicking the appropriate menu buttons. Each week, we look forward to receiving your letters. You may write us at the address shown on your screen. Send your letters to American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. If you have a prayer request, please send it to prayerrequest@americanreligious.org. Thank you for writing and thank you for watching. Now, back to today's closing statements.
Welcome back. It's January the 1st, 2023, and our panelists are going to give us some closing comments. Tom.
Thank you. I want to say first that I hope there are not too many of you that woke up this morning with a lot of regret about not just last year but last night. That seems to be one of the New Year's traditions that gets to be it doesn't work well for us. And one of the things that we need to commit to change. I was speaking a while ago about committing to change, and one of the things that needs to happen when we do that is that we need to understand that there are going to be setbacks, whether it's a new exercise regimen or some other change that we're going to have in our lives. There are going to be setbacks, and we need to establish, along with the commitment to change, we need to establish coping mechanisms to deal with those setbacks. But we need to keep track of our progress toward that change. What would happen in our communities as well as in our individual persons if we began to do a better job of keeping track of our progress toward the change that we set out for ourselves to do. Those are some things that we need to keep in mind at this time of turning, of looking back and turning toward 2023. What's it going to be? What are we going to make it by the grace of God?
Thank you. Carl.
Yeah, honestly, just piggybacking on that, I realize too that so often New Year's resolutions are so individualistic in nature. And what am I going to do to improve myself? And I understand that's important to improve ourselves individually, but ultimately, our willpower is very, very weak. And if we don't have communal support for the habits that we decide to commit to, for people asking us how we're doing, or communities like gyms, for example, of which people say, hey, it's good to see you, that kind of thing. Any kind of commitment for the future definitely involves communal activity and communal support. And the second thing I want to say, it comes out of a class I just had recently in which in my ethics class, a bunch of the students said, well, everyone's so cynical and like there's just really no hope. It was about climate change and, you know, the problem's too big. And I just heard, everyone just contributed onto that we can't do anything. And I said, you know, if you lose hope about the possibility of change, I said, you will guarantee that it won't change. And so this idea of hope, which is mentioned even in the moderator statement, seems to be a central kind of virtue to me of the new year, to being able to look forward and to say, no, something is possible to make the world a better place, and I'm going to commit myself to do it.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree completely with what you've just said. And first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. You know, a week ago we celebrated Christmas, and we recognized at that time that there are people for whom that's a very difficult date. But so is New Year. We've always find that more suicides take place at that time of the year, between Christmas and New Year, and than just about any other time of the year. People are lonely. And what are they going to do in this new year? So I think it has to be a place of hope, a place of joy, a place of reflection that will take us into the future. And if you don't have anybody around you that can help you, you need to seek them out.
Quickly, the tradition that I have around Jewish New Year's is I always try to watch a movie called Saving Private Ryan. There's a scene at the end where Captain Miller pulls Ryan close to him. He's saved on his dying wish, and he says, "Earn this." And it morphs to a scene of him standing in the cemetery at Normandy, and he says, "Tell me I'm a good man." And that's what I'm hopeful on New Year's, that I will ring in and I'll be writing a story of decency and compassion, of wisdom and awareness and justice and awe and wonder and peace.
Thank you all very much, and thank you all for all sharing your thoughts. You know, I'd like to go back to the poem that we first started with, because I think what is amazing about that poem and Tennyson, when he suddenly comes in with this "Ring out our bells," is if you actually read this, which is a very, 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 very long poem, there are different Christmas, New Year periods scattered throughout, and they are very, very dark. Just as we have been saying, sometimes these times of year that are times that when we remember things can be very dark, and they're very dark. And slowly, as the poem continues, each Christmas becomes some little moments of hope. And then suddenly you get this, finally, this hope that comes, and he expresses this through this new year and the words of the new year and ringing in. And so I want to go back to that sense of hope as well, because I think that is really so critical. The Charter of the American Religious Town Hall provides that Roman Catholics, Protestant, Jews, educators, and others may appear on this program and can declare their beliefs without hesitancy, and the rest of the members of the panel will uphold and guarantee that American right to all who will appear, irrespective of race or creed, so that the rest of the world can see that here in America we believe in civil and religious freedom, not only in theory, but also in reality. And so now, friends, until next week at the same time and over the very same channel, the American Religious Town Hall meeting stands adjourned. And may the God of all of us bless all of you.